let's start from the beginning. Where do you first have a? Does it go back to childhood or?
It goes back to 14 years of age.
Okay.
My buddy and I, this was back in '63. I'm giving away my age, but my buddy and I in 1963 was sitting on some steps, and we smelled something that smelled like sulfur. And I told my friend, I said, "That's sulfur," and we went up on the hill and we watched. So we saw some lights coming through the neighborhood, over the neighborhood, and we went up on this little hill and looked, and about 75 feet up was a top. It kind of looked like those child tops, saucer, flying saucer.
Okay. Yeah.
Dark underneath, and that's where we kind of smelt the ozone, or it was ozone is what it was. And we both pinched each other. We couldn't believe what we was looking at. There were portals, windows around about halfway mark of the UFO, and I was afraid somebody is going to look out of those. I was afraid to see them, and so we were both in fear. So we just froze there. But with that craft being so close, him and I both, I just saw him a couple of days ago, so we're still good friends. He went on to be a police chief and things of that nature. He's a highly credible person, and I feel I am too.
Yeah.
We saw this craft, and we can't get together on the timing. We saw little, I guess I'm jumping around here, saw little arrows on top of the craft, and a white light and a red light.
There was arrows? Can you explain that?
They looked like antenna.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Two of them sticking at the top. And what happened, something must have happened at that point. I had a regressed dream, like I was trying to put on his shirt sitting on a metal table, and it was too tight on me. I'm a little bit bigger guy than he was, and I couldn't get it on, and I had that regressed dream. We both had some lost time because my mom was really mad when I come in the house. This was around 10:30 when we saw it. We must have not got in the house until after midnight. Okay. And so my mom was really mad. I said, I saw a UFO, Mom. And she said, "I'll UFO your butt," because, back then they didn't, they didn't know anything about those kinds of things.
Sure, that's right.
But I guess it was a couple of months later. I don't know the exact time. But in my, I guess I'm going to mention this. I hope it's okay.
Yeah.
In my left scrotum, I had an implant. And I looked down at it, and I said it was about the big as a I guess ibuprofen little tablet.
Okay.
And I felt it, and I thought, well, what's that? And then I looked, and there's a little hole, a red little scar hole, about a quarter of an inch or so wide. And what I did is I worked on it, and I pushed it out of that hole, back out of that hole, and I got it out. It was kind of light tan in color, and it started turning darker as I had it out. I showed my mom. She says, "Throw that old thing away." And she said, "That was just maybe a blackhead." I said, "No, Mom, it wasn't a blackhead. There was a hole there. I don't know where that hole come from." And I couldn't, at that age, I couldn't link it together with the UFO I just saw just months before that. So apparently, I got the implant out from that visitation with a UFO. Then I went on. Of course, I got busy, went in the military. I seemed like I didn't have any encounters then, but it didn't go on. In about 19, I guess, I've had some weird dreams during those times, about during the 70s and 80s, and I couldn't make out what the dreams were. So I was kind of scared when I woke up.
Well, what was the difference in the dream between an ordinary dream? Like, how would it differ that you would remember it?
I would see something that was not from here. Something that was scary. I've had regressed dreams about seeing. I went. Well, here's some of the regressed dreams. I don't know where they come from. What encounter happened? Because in 1996 is when I actually started seeing visual things again. I saw a small gray beside my bed about 1 o'clock in the morning, and he was about 3.5 feet tall, but he didn't have the lenses on his eyes. I don't know why. I saw regular eyes, like they're really dark pupils, big, and very little white around his eyes.
You mean like human eyes?
Yeah, it's big.
Okay.
Big eyes, but he was more wrinkled than what they show on pictures or whatever they draw these little ETs. And the next day I asked my wife, and she said, no, I didn't hear or see nothing, go to bed. And I first saw this shadow going across the mirror, and I was awake because it woke me up coming in. I thought it was my daughter coming in, going in and getting some aspirin because she might have had a headache, but it wasn't her. And I turned and I saw this little gray-green. It was actually gray-green guy. And I had fear in me. For about 5 seconds, I had a lot of fear. I started shaking, and then all of a sudden, I just went out. I was out.
So this was in the middle of the night?
Yes, it's about 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30, somewhere like that. And this was the first encounter that I saw these little things.
Okay.
So that was the first one I saw. And then going into, I guess I have a whole book full of things that I run into and things that I've done. But the second sighting was this. It was kind of like a drone. It was silver in color, and I was a team leader at a refinery, an oil refinery. This was back in the year 2000. I think it was right at 2000. I saw this drone, and I was up on about the 15th level of the reactor at the refinery, and I looked and I saw this drone flying real slow. It didn't have no cabin, it didn't have no engine, no sound, and it was just all silver. It was shaped a little bit like a plane, like a drone, and it just had one dorsal fin. It didn't have the typical, I guess, the lateral fins or whatever, but it didn't have any lights, and also is flying over restricted air because you're not supposed to fly over a refinery.
Right.
So it flew real slow, and it went by me. I called down to the control room, and I talked to the guys. I said, "You guys need to come over and see this. This is weird." And they said, "Oh no, there's Dave and that UFO stuff." And I just thought I could have had some more witnesses with this one. And it flew past me, and then it flew south, straight south, turned straight south, and it was weird. It was like it was floating. And it was a day or two after that, I had a vivid dream of the plant shutting down. Like I walked through the plant, checked all the machinery, walked in the control room, all the lights were gone, they were dead. And it was exactly what I saw in my vivid dream when the plant closed in '02. The guy said I was crazy when I told him it was closing because they put millions of dollars refurbishing our unit.
Oh.
But yeah, so they thought, okay, this plant's going to be here. Well, I said, no, guys, it's closing. I saw it. I saw it in a vivid dream, and it happened just like I said it. Apparently, what they do, they control time some way or another, and they know where you're going to be. And this has happened like later on. I found out they know where you're going to be. They actually send you like some kind of a signal that's telling you go to this place or do this, and that's where they rendezvous with you, I would imagine. So I had a dream that with that one, but then I went on, and in about '08 is when the action started again. It come in spurts for me, and in '08 I started seeing other flying things or lights around my house. My neighbors told me that there were bright lights in my backyard, and one of my neighbors was too afraid to go outside because they heard a sound and they saw the real bright lights. And another neighbor said he saw the same bright light. It was about 10 feet wide, and it was like coming right straight down. And I said, wow, so that kind of mixed in with everything that was going on. After that, I started traveling to Sedona and out west, and I ran into some things there that was weird. I went to a psychic, or she calls herself a spiritual medium, and she told me, I went up there, a buddy told me to go there. I went there a few days before I took out west, and she told me that I was going to have damage to my car, but I'd be able to drive my car. And then she said, you will meet your first ET.
Wow.
And she said, 9 days away from now. I said, oh, okay. And I said, are you sure? She goes, yes. And so I went out west, and I met this Japanese young lady. And that's a story in itself. I don't know how much time you want to give on this.
Well, go through it. Yeah, start with, let's fill that in. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, and I met this Japanese young lady. I drove 23 hours to get there. I took a 2-hour rest, and about 6:30 I went back out. They told me they saw a UFO around, it was called the Cathedral Mound. There
Okay, I know that is, yeah.
Cathedral Rock, right. And I went out there and I pulled in the parking lot. There's only one other car there. And then I was getting out and filming with my camera. And here comes another car right behind me, like, and this Japanese gal jumped out of the car. She come over to me, and I was filming. I looked at her, said, are you waiting for other people? She goes, no. I said, are you going hiking? She goes, no. She was kind of like a little puppy that I couldn't get rid of. And then I said, it's starting to rain. I said, would you want to get in the car? We can talk. She said, sure. So she got into my car and started talking to me. And she was trying to elicit, I guess, emotions from me. This is something else I found out that they do. I met Dr. David Jacobs, and he told me that a lot of times that's what they do. They work in threes. They have a sponsor, and somebody takes care of them or guides them through this human thing that we have. And then they have protection. Well, I saw the protection guy when we was in a car, and we were talking. She didn't really talk. I asked her, I said, how old she was. And then she got upset. She said, why do people ask about age? She said, there is no age. And I said, oh, okay. So I looked over, and there was a guy, looked like a young guy. He had kind of like a shaved head, and he had a headphone on. And I was wondering what he was doing. And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and she had these piercing eyes. I remember she'd look at me, and I tell her, I said, don't look at me like that. I said, your eyes are so piercing. And I said, this is weird. And I thought she, right then, that's when I started thinking she was weird. There was something different about her. I asked her about where she was from. She said Japan. And I said, oh, okay. And she said that her mom and dad didn't treat her good. And she started putting on a cry. It was a fake cry. I put my hand on hers, and I said, that's all right. And her hand was so hot, I had to lift my hand off of her hand because she was so hot. I was told that that's I guess either she's a shapeshifter or she's a hybrid that's just training and getting to know how to do things. So
did you think she was non-human at that point, or are you just still wondering?
I thought she was non-human at that point, yes.
Okay.
Because some of the answers she gave and the way she was talking. And then this guy showed up for the third time. He pulled in, pulled out. And I said, this don't look good. She kind of shrunk in the seat, and her eyes got bigger. It was like she was going through a change. And I looked, I thought, oh no, she ain't gonna turn into a gray on me, is she? You know, it kind of looked that way. And I kept thinking I didn't think about that until later. So what we did is we split up. And she said that she wanted to meet me the next day. I said, sure, fine. We can meet for breakfast about 9:30 or whatever. So we met for breakfast, and there was about 20 people waiting in this restaurant. And she looked at these people. She says, all these people. And I thought, if you're from Japan, you're seeing thousands of people. Yeah. That was weird. I pick up on these little innuendos that she was putting out. And she ate. But she kept looking around like she's looking at people, and I thought, well, this can't be real. So I took her out. We looked at some areas out, and I took some pictures of her. I do have pictures of her.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I brought her back, and we had a quick lunch, and then she said she had to leave. She had to go to L.A., she told me. And I said, oh, really? Okay, fine. And then that's not the end of the story. What really captures this whole story is about 7 months later, March 17th, 2011, on my front porch. My cousin and I both were sitting on my porch, and here shows up about 150 feet away, two young Japanese young men, and it looked like her. I couldn't really see, but it looked like her body build and the way she held her arms together.
Where were they?
They were at my house. In Illinois. I lived in Godfrey at that time.
So were they on the street, or where were they?
We saw them on the street, and they started walking our way.
Okay.
To the house, and the gal, in which I was going to ask him if that was Hiroko, that was her name. She stayed down the street away, where I couldn't get a good close look at her. The two young guys come up to us. Well, my cousin, he just talks and he talks, and then he actually is he gets a little bit sarcastic with people sometimes and joking. And he sat there, he didn't say a word. And I wanted to ask him if that was Hiroko. I didn't say anything. They dumbed us down some way or another, and I usually would ask questions. I had questions I wanted to ask them, and I just got to the point where I couldn't say nothing. I felt like, okay, be reassured, you're safe. Don't make any moves. Don't get a camera. Don't get a weapon. And it's kind of, they give you that feeling when they dumb you down. I think it's a magnetic energy because I feel it in my belly when I get hit by it. And they finally walked away.
Did they say anything?
No, they asked where the Walmart was at. That's all they said.
Okay.
And I thought that was unusual. That was weird. So they stood there. But one of the other things I picked up too is they had a little brown vinyl satchel, and this one of the young guys was looking into it. He reaching his hand, he's looking into it, and he looked at me, and I thought to myself, that was my satchel. It was inside in my office in my house. Apparently, they dumbed us down, went in my house, went into the office, grabbed that satchel where I had a lot of my UFO notes, and I had notes on Hiroko in there. And and he looked at it. I don't remember him going back and putting it back. I don't remember any of that. And then they walked away, and they joined the lady, and I knew it was Hiroko. And then they walked to the stop sign. My cousin did not see them leave. He was so dumbed down that he did not even see them leave. And I saw about halfway when they got halfway to her, and they joined up, went up to the stop sign. We turned our heads, looked at each other, looked back, and they were gone, vanished. They were just boom.
What did your cousin make out of all this? Did he comment after about what he was thought has happened?
Yeah, he said he was scared to death. He said, "I've never seen, this is weird." He said, this is scary. He said, "I'm out of here." And then he got in this truck and he left.
Wow. Okay.
It really scared him. And I told him, I said, "It's E.T., cousin." I said, "That's what they were, and I know who that gal was." And I said, this is weird to me too. So yeah, it just happened that was a story that I met somebody from the other side. I really felt that. And what confirmed it was her visit to my house. And then all this happening.
And about how many years later was that after the event in Sedona?
It was about 7 months later. It was
7 months. Okay.
Yeah, 7 months later that she made a visit to my house. And I've had other things that happened right after that. I had 3 events of being shocked in bed. The first event was I had my hand, I was really sick. I had bronchitis. I was going to go to the doctor next day. I usually get bronchitis from the flu. And I was laying there about ready to go to sleep, and something hit my index finger in my right hand. I did not have it close to anything. It wasn't even, it was laying on the side of the bed, and I was laying there. I didn't touch anything electrical. I didn't have anything near me that was metal. And a real loud snap and pop, like a high charge 440 when it hits your hand. I worked with electrician. So I thought my finger was burned off. I woke up, turned the light on, looked at my finger, and it was okay. But then after that, I really had an incident that was really, this was terrifying. I think this is where a lot of times I see people that's been abducted, and there's a lot of drama in it. But I like going by feelings and emotions that really count, I think, the most what the person feels. I was laying in the bed one afternoon. I was really tired. I also heard that a lot of times they make you tired, and they want to get you in a position where they can deal with you. So I went and laid down on my bed. It's 1:30 in the afternoon, and it was really sunny, and I had my elbow up, and I was looking out the door. I was just laying there resting my back. I got a bad back, so I rested my back. And all of a sudden, I heard this snapping, crackling sound next to my bed. It was really loud, a real loud, staticky sound. And I turned over to take a look at what it was, and all of a sudden, it hit me in the shoulder. The snap hit me in the shoulder, and I was petrified. I couldn't move. I was frozen. And the only thing I could move was my fingers and my eyeballs, and I was looking out the door, and I could see the door. But I tried to turn again, and each time I tried to turn, it hit me again. The electrical force field, whatever it was. Then this is the strange thing too. My sister, who died 4 years before that, she was calling out to me from the hallway. She said, "Dave, you can do it. Come on, Dave, you can do it." I said, do what, sissy? I called her sissy. And she said, you can do it. I said, come to the door so I can see you. She said, I can't. I said, why not? She said, I can't. And then I laid there just a few seconds later, and I felt a baby's hand in my fingers. And I pulled on the fingers, and I thought, oh, that's a real baby. You know, that's weird. And then all of a sudden, I felt a heavy weight set next to me in the bed, against my hip. And then that's when I was scared. I thought, what's going on here? And so that's when I kind of went and really I said, God help me, you know, and I thrashed around in the bed, and then it was over with. And I got up and I thought, what happened? What happened? It wasn't like sleep paralysis at all, because I was awake, number one, and I knew the door there, and I tried to get my sister there. And I knew there was static shock next to me, really loud. I talked to another researcher. She was a friend of mine, and she said that she had a case in Missouri about the same thing, where a daughter and a mother had electrical shocks, and then they lost time. And I said, okay, that's what happened to me. They come to you with electrical shocks, and that's how they I guess either David Jacobs, Dr. Jacobs, he said that's when they're bringing you back. He said they're done with you. They're bringing you back. I said, really? And I said, then the second time I thought I was fighting it off. I pushed against it. It was about a week later. They tried to do it again, and I pushed against it, and it stopped. I thought I fought it off. He said, no, you didn't. He said, they were just finished with you. That electrical shock is when they bring you back, and there's residual, energy there. It shocks away. So he said that shock was an abduction thing too, that he's heard from other people.
Okay, can I ask you, was your sister alive or dead at this time?
She was dead. She was 4 years dead. Yes.
Okay, and have you had any other paranormal experiences, like in terms of ghosts or paranormal stuff happening in the house, a port phenomena or anything like that?
Right. I've taken pictures of orbs in the house, red, blue, and white orbs on my camera. The trail camera picked them up, and
When did that start?
that started about the same year. 2010 and 2011 were very busy years for me, and then 2012, about half of the year was kind of busy. I don't know why all the concentration all at that time. I had all these events that go on. Uh, but I had a buddy that stayed with me. He drove down to Eureka Springs, and we drove back, and then he lived in Rockford, way up north. So he stayed at my house overnight, and I said, well, I'll make you breakfast in the morning, and then you can drive back home. So something happened to him that night. He didn't tell me for 3 months, and he was a ghost researcher. He was into ghosts before he got into UFOs.
Okay.
And something rubbed up against his feet. He said it was very solid. He said it wasn't a ghost. He said it was solid. He didn't tell me for 3 months because he thought I'd be afraid or scared to live in that house. I said, buddy, I've already seen and heard things here already. And I've had some regressed dreams, also some of this stuff. I wish I can recall everything that I've been through. I had a regressed dream about, and I can't tell which abduction it was that brought on these regressed dreams. I had a regressed dream one time that I come into this, it was a metal room, they had a glass window, and there seemed like an older guy. I thought it was an older guy, humanoid, and he had blue spots on his arm. I don't know why I was able to see the arms real good, and they wouldn't show me the face. I might have seen the face, but they erased that. And I figured out how I also know how they erased. They did it to me one time, and I saw the blue spots on this person's arm. He raised up a blanket, and there was a gal with long dark hair. He had me mate with her, and it was like, ET, mating, and afterwards it kind of felt like that too. But it's kind of hard to talk about it. But I got up. He showed me this hallway, and he pointed that he wanted me to walk this hallway. It's a hallway. It's about 5 feet wide. It's narrow. It's metallic. It's all silver. You walk this hallway, and that's what takes you back to where you come from. That's what delivers you back where you were. And I had
At what
also
age were you at this time? When have you had these? Because you probably know these sexual things occur all the time. How old would you have been at this time?
I figured I would have been about 59,
Okay,
60.
and it
And
only happened the one time. Where you had
no, the the sexual thing. Actually, there was a couple other times where there was I saw this friend's face. They use this masking, ETs do, to make you feel more comfortable with what's going on. So this friend, I had my leg up, and he was working on my groin, and I woke up and I looked and I saw my friend's face, and then I went back out. And actually, what was going on is that they were taking semen samples from me, and that happened in Sedona too. I had a regressed dream in Sedona. The next following year I went there, I went to that room where I thought that I was abducted by this Hiroko, the Japanese young lady who come to the room with her people. And I was laying in bed, and there was a tan hose, a light brown hose, that went to my groin area, and I tried to kick it away, and then all of a sudden I was back out again. But they didn't erase everything, because I remember this. I remember getting up. One of them was holding me by the arm and walking me. And I don't know why they had to walk me, but there was a bright light that they used. It was kind of like a tubular, it was about 6 or 7 inches long, looked like a fluorescent tube. And they were going up and down my face. And every time it hit my eyes, it would hurt, it would burn. And then I'd look to the side and I saw silhouettes of another person sitting at a table next to me. And this light that kept doing it up and down my face, and I thought, and then I saw the patio doors that I was walking towards, and then all of a sudden it was over. I guess they put me back to bed. So they didn't erase everything. I found out how they erased memory with that light. They do it with the light up and down your face and then your eyes. Why they walked me, I don't know. That's beyond me. Why I was being walked and that was being done.
Have you got any idea why they allow you to remember stuff? Like you're remembering bits and pieces of it.
Right. Just bits and pieces. I think they allow you to do that to let you know what happened. I guess they're trying to be a little bit kind about it and let you know what happened. There was something that really happened. I also remember walking to my door in a kind of like a daze. I was in a trance. I felt real hot, my body, and I felt kind of a little sick in my stomach. And somebody was leading me to my door, and it was a metal insulated door. And I didn't want to bump my head, and they told me to go through the door. And I said, I thought to myself, I can't go through the door. And then I put my hand out, my right hand. My right hand went through the door almost up to my elbow, and it was really hot. I felt intense heat on my arm, and
The
because
part that was through the door.
yeah, the part no the halfway the part that was stuck in the door,
Okay.
it was hot. I guess it was the reaction with the door of the metal and the whatever the magnetic force they use to dumb you down to transport you raise your I guess frequencies. They have to raise your frequencies really high to get you through walls or through doors.
Okay.
So I was burning really bad, and I figured I better finish this. And so I went through the door, and I don't remember anything after that. So I've had little bits and pieces of memory. Uh, One of the biggest vivid dreams I had, Grant. Am I talking too much? You have a question or something?
No, no, no. Keep going. Keep going. I'm enjoying this.
Okay, and the other big, this is a big vivid dream I had that they left me with, and this was meant for a reason, I think. I was in this hallway, showed up in this hallway. It was metallic. The ships were clean. The ships that I saw in my regressed dreams, they were clean. Some people say they're kind of messy. No, these ships are really bright, shiny, metal, and clean.
Can you describe the inside of the ship, like the color and the walls and?
Yeah, it was stainless steel color. It
Okay.
was like a stainless steel color. I don't know if they were really metal or not, but they were like a stainless steel color. Everything, the walls, all of it. I didn't see any different types of walls. I walked down the hallway, and I looked in there was little rooms there. I saw people in there, but I didn't see their faces. All I saw, I think what they do is they erase the face, and then the rest of the body I could see. But I walked into this big hallway. They had a big, like a convention hall, and I saw three podiums, and there was some humanoids with animals that they had on leashes or whatever, and there were three different animals. One kind of looked like a kangaroo, the one that I could see closest, but it didn't look like a kangaroo. It was a cross between something else. I couldn't make it out, and then I couldn't see the other two. They was kind of a little bit far away, but there was a bunch of humanoid figures around these three creatures or whatever. I called the ship the Noah Ark. I felt that way. I said, this must be where they, I guess,
So are these grays or are these humanoid?
what when I come back out, okay, I was walking back down the hallway. There was a little black box on my right hand, my right foot. I looked down as a little black square box. It was following me everywhere I went.
A box was following you.
Yeah, a black box was following right behind my right foot.
Okay.
And I couldn't figure that out either. I walked and I saw these humanoids dressed in white gowns. They were looking at something. So I looked between them and I looked at what they were looking at. It looked like a 6-month-old humanoid baby. It had 3 eyes. The eyes didn't come like up here in the forehead top. They actually were here. One of them was here. It was almost like straight across. I said, wow. I said, where am I at? What am I doing? I was able to talk to myself. Then I turned around and I saw this is the alien that I'm going to describe. A tall, I call her white alien, human alien. And she was about almost 7 feet tall. And she had no hair. She had big eyes, dark eyes, but she was pretty. I mean, she wasn't scary at all. She had a 2-piece gown on, top and a bottom 2-piece. It was tan in color. I was able to see the color. And she walked up to me and kind of tapped me on the shoulder and took me to this panel. And I thought, okay, she was touching something on the panel. She disappeared. And I remember kind of looking back. I said, wow, where'd she go? And then she come back all of a sudden. I asked her, I said, how did you do that? And she just grimaced, just a little grimace, no smile, just a little grimace. And then she motioned for me to go with her down this another hallway, 5 feet wide, stainless steel. And she went down it first, and then I went down it. And I guess I disappeared, come back to where I was at, back home or wherever I was at the time. But that was a very vivid dream in colors. I was talking to people. I was talking to myself. I noticed the black box. I noticed all these things, and that was a very vivid dream. So I figured it was part of the regression that I had in dreams. And another regress dream. This might have been from my childhood, from the one I was 14 years of age. I found myself in a room, and there was some young humanoid people. Like they was close to humans. I thought they were really humans, young people. And I remember playing the drums a little bit. They had a drum. They had different looking drums than what I'm familiar with. But then we went outside in the yard. It was kind of like a lumber yard, and it was kind of like a mining area. That's what it looked like. I looked up. There was two suns in the, I don't know which direction I was at that time. And then I saw trees, like our pine trees. Like it was kind of like an earthly thing. It kind of had the weather like Seattle or Washington would have. It was kind of cool, kind of damp. And I sat by this young girl, and I asked her, I said, do you believe in God? And she looked at me kind of weird, and then she looked over my head, and there was a guy in black, dressed in black. He motioned for me to come over to him. I looked down, I saw there's some little toys that were it was made out of a rock or some kind of crystal. One was blue and one was green. I picked them up and I said, now I got proof that I was there. And I put them in my pocket. I thought I put them in my pocket. And I walked up to this guy that was in black, and he motioned for me to walk down this rail. It was a board walk rail. I walked down it, and I was back. I was gone. And the funny thing of it is, my dad died in '95. I actually thought I saw my dad coming up out of the mine. He was he had black all over him. He was a industrial worker. Wasn't educated, but he worked with coal for a while, and that's where he would get the black coal. But he looked over at me, and I saw the face of my dad, and I thought, is this where he's at now?
So he was dead then as well?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yeah. And so that was another vivid dream. But I've had things happen, like small dreams that I got a whole list of things that I've had,
Have you
going.
cataloged all this stuff?
Yes, I got a ledger that's about over 250 pages.
Is that right? Wow. Good
Yeah,
for you. Good for you.
and I've got of course pictures of the Japanese young lady, uh, and I got something else that happened to me in the last few years. I guess up to about 2015. They were little discs. They were just small plastic discs that I found. I can run to the other room and get them and show
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. Please do that. Yeah.